So for whatever reason, I felt compelled to make a video related to unique self, emergence, and why it's so important in the world today to evolve who we know ourselves to be. Because most people, most of the time, walk around reenacting patterns that they learned or they inherited, kind of unconscious automatic patterns, whether it's I need to be fitting in to whatever my social group is because that's just what I'm supposed to do, so there's all these norms and expectations, and I have to conform to a group. Or people walk around most days identifying with their particular skill or specialization or expertise, and most of their energy is to mastering or perfecting that particular sense of what their skill is. And so who I am is what I do. And that leaves me feeling a narrow band of possibility. Because anytime I make a mistake or mess up or fail or can't get a job in that area, for example, then I am devastated. And so I spend my life feeling not good enough or feeling stressed, overly stressed and hyper-identified with my job. And by the way, in a world where most jobs are going to disappear in the next 10 years, that's a painful place to be. And then you have also people that are identified with not just their job or their expertise, but their agency. It's like who I am is what I can create, what I can envision and create for myself, and kind of the success and achievement that I can wield my power towards. So I spend all my time trying to optimize my life, trying to make everything the way I want it, or manifest what I want in this world, or innovate or be creative in my entrepreneurial endeavors, or acquire more influence and be able to accumulate more status, reputation, wealth, because that is the mark of success. And by the way, the difficulty in holding that worldview and that identity is that it puts a lot of pressure on the self in order to optimize its independence and hold a lot of control. So I have to be always in control or predicting my world and keeping everything the way I want it. And if I can't, that's devastating. And in a world where it is becoming more and more uncertain and overwhelming and unpredictable, where oil prices increase the price of everything, for example, because of one politician's desire to go to war. Overnight, things change. That's a painful place to be, because the fact is, here's the secret, I can't control everything, nor is it fulfill my greatest identity, my deepest identity. I'm way much more than my particular ability to control the outcomes in my world. Unique self is the realization that I am not only connected with and one with this infinite, dazzling field of possibility, that there's this suchness, there's this field of infinite possibility and a field of mysterious interconnectedness. And my individual perception is connected to something deep and profound, that there is a oneness that we all share beyond anything that I can particularly see or make happen or manifest in my life. There's infinite factors that influence my day-to-day, my life. And so not only am I woven into that field, that I'm not alone, that I'm not separate, that I'm not merely having to control everything in my life, that there's mysterious forces that are conspiring that I have no ability to predict. Not only is that the case, not only can I rest in this sea of eros, of aliveness, of love, that not only everywhere is it the case that everywhere I fall into the hands of this loving cosmos, but that I am a unique expression of that eros that infuses everything. Everything is infused with this eros. And that I am a unique expression of that eros, of that field of infinite pure possibility, of the field of mysterious allurement that drives my life. That it's possible to orient my perception such that I feel allured to give my greatest gifts that are intrinsic to me, that were planted inside of me, that I have deep, great gifts that are also aligned with my deepest heart's desire, that I have this allurement to give those gifts in my circles of influence and intimacy that need me, that there are needs that actually call me in every moment. So kind of micro needs and macro needs, right? There's, on a day-to-day basis, someone in my space needs me to do something and I'm able to do it. Or I need to be a certain way. That on a day-to-day level, there might be a person whose life changes because of what I say to them, or to the hug that I offer them, or to the glance that I give. Or in kind of the meso decisions that I make, the medium scale decisions that there's allurements to where I am to live, who I associate with, the communities that I'm part of, the groups that I dance in, the professions that I take on. That there's allurements, that the universe is always speaking to me through my allurements, my sets of allurements. And a macro level, that my unique transformation actually transforms the entire thing. That there is a deep heart's desire and great gifts that I have to give that are actually, if I'm able to step in and give those gifts, I participate in the evolution of everything. Why wouldn't I? If everything's connected and everything is impacting everything else in every moment, and I'm able to go deep and align with the cauldron of transformation, the evolutionary impulse within me, then why wouldn't I ripple out and impact the entire field? It's actually the nature of reality, the deepest nature of reality, and that my identity is not limited to any of those things I mentioned earlier, but when I live according to my unique self, life is self-evidently good. And my life is self-evidently meaningful. That there is a purpose driving my life, and not sort of a static, solid sort of purpose that you can put on your wall and say, that's my purpose. But there's a continuous invitation to step more deeply and more deeply into the life that I'm here to live. So if you and I can experience that, we're in a field together, and that there's moment to moment invitation to show up as my unique self, imagine what would it be like if we were to act in such a way as to invite the people around us to clarify their unique self, to deepen their experience of living as a unique expression of this field of desire, of this field of eros and allurement. And imagine if all of us ripple out and the world that we are therefore creating is a world where every individual has dignity. Every individual leads a self-evidently meaningful and good and value-laden life. Wow. How would that impact the world? It would just ripple out. How many leaders would create organizations that were designed for human flourishing? How many lawmakers would enact laws that were in accordance with a good society of law, of value? How many authors would spread stories of the evolutionary cosmos towards more goodness and wholeness? How many teachers would bring up a generation of children that know that this life matters, that their life matters, and that there is something that they're called to give? And that these youth would find that there's a purpose to their life. How many politicians would come together and find a way forward such that the opposition would actually be woven into that same field, and that they could then therefore trust in the evolutionary impulse to create win-win solutions, to evolve beyond the tragedies of this war-laden world and find peaceful coexistence as a baseline for the expression of unique self-symphonies of nations contributing to the good of all of humanity in a symphony where there's no ultimate competition, but only a weaving together of the great gifts of every society towards greater wholeness. What would the world be like if therapists knew that their clients were not merely fixing themselves from within or reorienting their stories from the past, but that they are participating in, that their lives are actually part of something significant, that their lives are woven into a larger tapestry, that they're not doing anything in isolation? What would the world be like if the world story was based on the notion that the universe itself is a love story, and that each of us are unique participants in this evolutionary love story? How would the world be if we could participate in that? That's the power of unique self-emergence. And so I want to invite you to consider for yourself participating in this, being among the few that is really spearheading at this leading edge of what it means to be human. Looking back 10 years from now, 20 years from now, looking back and saying, wow, I was part of that early group of evolutionaries who knew that there was a better way, that participated in the evolution of what it means to be human. Wow, what a beautiful, beautiful consideration. Much love.